Hello, good morning, Love Wrestling. It is Thursday, January 9th. It is 10 a.m. You see myself, you see Drew here. You know what that means. It's another edition of Firmly AEW here on Love Wrestling. We are excited to be here this morning. Should be a good one. Last night's episode of Dynamite, I thought, kicked some serious ass. I thought it was a very good episode of Dynamite last night. I felt good about it. But before we dive into that, normal wrestling stuff that you guys are used to. Drew, how we doing this morning, my friend? How are things?
We're doing awful this morning.
Awful?
Awful. You notice
Awful.
I'm wearing a hoodie at the moment.
Oh, are you going to be one of those people who's lived in the East Coast their whole life in the winter that doesn't expect cold weather?
The funny thing is that I actually love the winter.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy winter, genuinely.
Yeah.
I just am not used to being cold in my house.
Fair. That's fair.
So,
I love those people. Yeah, I love those people. My mother is one of them, but I love those people that have lived in New England their whole lives.
Yeah.
She's in her 60s. She's lived here her whole life. And every time it snows for the first time, or every time it's windy or bitterly cold for that real first time, she's like, oh, like it's the first time. And I'm like, Ma, you've literally experienced this for 60 straight years. How is this new? How is this new to you? It's hilarious. We got everything pro wrestling popping in the chat already. Welcome in. We'll let everybody kind of lean in, get in here early, as we dive into Dynamite and all that fun stuff that happened last night.
I think, the thing is about the weather is that even though we are in the Northeast and we experience cold weather, it hasn't been this cold
in a couple years. The last couple winters were mild. We didn't get a ton of snow. It wasn't, we had a stretch or two. You're always going to have at least one stretch where it's bitterly cold. But I feel like now, again, I don't want to jinx it, but I just feel like we're due for a terrible winter. Are we not? When you have 2 or 3 winters in a row where nothing happens, you have to, in your mind, think like we're going to get pummeled. We're going to get pummeled this winter with everything. Like it's going to be a bad winter.
It's really, really getting. I mean, I can't remember the last time there was 3 straight days of under 30-degree, 30-mile-an-hour gusty winds.
Oh yeah, everything pro wrestling's in Buffalo. They have it worse than us. We're bitching.
Oh dear,
dude.
I sympathize.
Every time there's a snowstorm, they get like 3 feet. They get like 3 feet of snow every time there's a snowstorm.
And also, before we do get into this show, I do want to quickly say for anybody in
California.
LA area
LA,
right now,
that's
California,
scary stuff out there, huh?
Last night, so yesterday morning is when I really found out that there's like some significant fire thing going on. Some account that I follow posted this video of this guy who went to work before the fires got severely bad, and then the police were stopping him from getting to his house.
You need to get out of here, buddy.
He had dogs at home.
Oh, yeah.
They were preventing him from getting to the house, and he was just sobbing. And listen, quick side note here: people don't need to be recording people in their vulnerable moments like that. It's really not. It's not something that needs to be.
People need them clicks, Drew. They
You
need
know,
them clicks and them views, man. That's
as
what
a
it is.
result,
We don't care about anybody's emotions anymore. It's
as
all
a
about
result,
views.
for the remainder of the day, I was thinking about that guy and that guy only, because I'm
Listen,
human and I'm thinking about the pets that are home and
and
potential.
that's my thing. Like, obviously, we want everybody to be safe that's out there. That is some scary stuff. I was seeing some videos that people were taking from like their back patios or like inside their house, and there's flames surrounding it. Like, that's scary.
Yeah,
That type of stuff, and losing everything like that is scary. But obviously we want all the humans to be safe, but there are a lot of animals, there are a lot of pets, there are a lot of that's a whole community out there that's going through some really scary, wild things. So
thankfully, later on at night, last night, this was like after Dynamite. I think it was like 11:30 or something. Um, because I'm a doom scroller, I just have to admit it. I'm a doom scroller, so I'm looking at all that stuff. I happened to find that guy did get his dogs,
good.
and everything was okay. So I was
Good.
I was like legitimately thinking about that all
Yeah.
day yesterday.
Yeah.
But then it was last night also that I was like, oh my God, this is way more severe than I even thought it was.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Hollywood Hills were starting to go on fire. Malibu was on fire. Palisades was on fire. It's really, really, really bad out there. And I hope for everybody that lives out there, if you do live out there and you're watching this right now, I hope you're safe. I hope your living things that you care about, your humans, your animals are safe. Your stuff, it doesn't mean as much as
No.
the living things do.
No. And
And I know it's and listen, that's easy for me to say. Sitting here in Brooklyn, New York, it's easy for JPJ to say living in Boston. We don't have fires. Our homes are not compromised right now. So I totally understand if you feel like your home is as important as your stuff and your living animals and humans. But in the grander picture, just know that right now you can walk out with every single thing that is living that you care about and see that the next day and still have that to hold and hug and kiss and love.
Yeah.
The pictures, the couch, the bed, the computer, the TV.
The memories and stuff like that, those pictures and memories and stuff, as far as the material stuff, like, we want them to be safe, we want all that, but they'll be able to rebuild. The people that live up, they have plenty of assets that they'll be able to they'll be okay. They'll be okay. As long as you, your loved ones, your pets, your things that are actually valuable to you as a human, as long as you guys are all safe, that other stuff, you guys, it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Please be safe. I hope that, nobody gets affected in the worst way. I mean, unfortunately, so many people have been, but I hope it stops soon so that this way we don't have to have, so many more people displaced from their homes. And yeah, so I hope everybody is okay.
Yeah, that's some of those videos are quite they're
Heartbreaking.
yeah. I am not a doom scroller. I know a lot of people are. I am not. When things like that are happening, I see what I see and I go, damn, like, that's awful. Like, I hope everyone's okay, but I don't like, I know there are people that will like watch, oh, I found one of these videos, let me watch an hour and a half of this stuff. And I'm like, that's not going to make you feel good. That's not going to make you feel good. Why are you doing that? But you know what I mean? So I try to, like, I'm like, no, let's go watch something stupid that means nothing. That'll not, but yeah. So obviously we are wishing safety and wellness to everybody dealing with that in the Los Angeles area. Hopefully that gets, like, I know California's always had issues with fires, obviously. But it seems like this is like closer to society almost, or like it's getting in
Yeah,
like
so
that's what
I
it
had
feels like to me.
originally thought that it was like Upper California,
Yeah, yeah,
foresty area, but this is
yeah.
like
In
this
the
is
city,
near like
like the
literal Los
Hollywood Hills,
Angeles,
like yeah,
like
like this is close
the city.
or
And
closer. Like,
yeah,
because I remember over the last, and again, it's scary no matter what it is, but I remember seeing those videos of like people driving on the highway and you would see the hills in the back just like burning with
yeah,
like those famous videos. And I was like, that looks like a horror movie. That looks like it's like literally a horror movie, but it was like away from, it felt like it was like away from
yeah,
people. Like it
yeah,
was still scary, but it was like, oh, this feels like now they're getting uncontrolled, like they're near people. Like it's near like a lot of, yeah, it's scary. It's
yeah.
scary. All right. Well, I'll try my best to transition from that into, we had ourselves AEW Dynamite last night. Did I not write where it was from in my notes, bro? Tennessee.
It
We
was
were in
in
Tennessee. We were in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah, yeah.
Clarksville, Tennessee was the town. Clarksville, Tennessee. Um, before we dive into everything that happened here, Drew, I thought last night's episode of Dynamite, that felt like a as close to an older vibe episode of Dynamite than I felt in a while. There were a few unlikely surprises that I very much liked. We started off right with the match, no promo. I felt like it had kind of that old school Dynamite vibe a little bit to me. It felt more, oh, this is kind of like what Dynamite was built on, this type of episode, as opposed to what we've been seeing more recently in the last, calendar year or so. I felt like it was a really, really solid to great episode of Dynamite. I really enjoyed it a lot. And it did have that old school vibe to me. I was like, oh, this feels like the Dynamites of old a little bit. And maybe it was just because the crowd was hot. I don't know. But I was like, I'm getting this vibe here. I'm getting this vibe here.
It is nice to have a hot crowd, and
No, for
they
sure.
did.
And
It was a lot better this week than past weeks, for
yeah,
sure.
and well, I feel like the last month or so they've been really getting into, like, they're going back to the smaller venues and they're filling the smaller venues, and that makes the show more alive to me. And I feel like that's what we've been getting here the last month or so, is they're going back to kind of smaller venues where they're packing people in there. The arena's kind of almost sold out. Brandon Thurston and them, they put out that seating chart every day for the big events on Twitter. And I think like an hour before Dynamite, there were less than 500 tickets available. Like, that's pretty good for Dynamite, considering what we've been seeing over the last years with attendance. Like, I feel like that is helping the vibe as well. If you're watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up, share this out, click the bell for notifications, follow us here at Love Wrestling. That way you'll get the notifications whenever we go live here for Firmly, or later on tonight for Beards, or the brunch whenever we have our wrestling matches we're dropping for videos from our events and things like that. If you click that bell for notification, you will get an update whenever that happens, and you'll be able to watch the show and all the stuff that we do at Love Wrestling. So if you can click that bell, we're already at 10 likes, dude. We're already at 10 likes. We're killing it. If you keep on clicking those
Thank
likes,
you.
sharing it out, comments, all things like that, we appreciate you greatly. All right. So this match, this show last night started off with a match right out the chute. The show goes on the air. Asian Joe, good to see you, friend. Hope you're doing well. I don't know if Ophelia. I don't know if Ophelia's here in the chat. But Joe and Ophelia have a rivalry for the ages going on. Yeah. So this match, Will Ospreay enters to start the show, and he is going one-on-one with Buddy Matthews of the House of Black. And these two had about as good as a match as you would expect these two to have. This match was excellent. As you can imagine, a lot of kicks, a lot of knees. Buddy Matthews is so good. He is so good. I said, don't post Jersey. Yeah, the style striking that these guys did with each other was incredible. Obviously, I'm fast forwarding towards the end of the match, but at one point, Buddy Matthews, he basically gave like a reverse GTS, like the knee to the back of the head to Ospreay, which was unreal. Ospreay hit a plethora of Os cutters in this match. They had some time outside. They went to the barricade on the floor. This match had everything. It had strong style striking. It had high flying. It had everything. And I love the end of this match. Buddy Matthews had already been hit with Sinner. I was saying, I don't know if when you just popped in, if it was just right now, I felt like Dynamite in general last night felt like a old AEW Dynamite. It had that vibe to me. It had that vibe of more of this is what the type of shows that the company was built on, as opposed to whatever they've been trying to do the last couple of years. That's how I felt. I disagree with you, Bonkers, but we'll talk about it. At least the first part. That first line, I fully disagree. I actually think he's perfect for Jarrett. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But this opening match was fantastic. Earlier in the match, Will Ospreay hit a hidden blade, but Buddy Matthews kicked out of it. And then we had all these great segments towards the end. And at the end, he was setting up for a hidden blade again. And they did that spot where Buddy Matthews knew it was coming. And he looks at Ospreay and he's got kind of a smile on his face. And he's like, all right, man. He's like, give it to me. And Ospreay hit him with the hidden blade, pinned him 1, 2, 3. And that's how the match happened. Some stuff happened after the match. But first and foremost, your opinion, Drew, on this fantastic opener that we had between Buddy and Will.
Yeah, this is like the perfect way to start a show. As Sinner said, it felt like an AEW match. It felt like, you know what? Will Ospreay starting a show now feels like how it felt early to late last year when Orange Cassidy started a show.
Yep.
You hear his music first, and that just gets you pumped up. So like that's how I felt.
Yep.
That's how I've been feeling, because there's been a couple of Dynamites, not in a row, but there have been a few Dynamites in the past like month and a half where Will Ospreay started the show. And it just his music just gets you in the mood. Like, oh yeah, that's it. That now I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
100%. 100%. He is that perfect guy. Buddy Matthews, I agree with you everything. Buddy Matthews is so good. And I said it after the match. I said a fantastic opener, but I was like, I eventually would like to see Buddy Matthews start winning some of these matches. Because I feel like he has these banger matches all the time, and we all, everyone's like, as we should be, we're gushing over Buddy Matthews and how friggin' good he is, but he loses all these matches. And it's like, all right, like obviously I knew he wasn't going to beat Will Ospreay, duh, but like he lost to Adam Cole a little while back in a great match. He has all these one-on-one matches, and he's incredible. Well, we're going to get into that, Bonkers, because I do think Will Ospreay's post-match thing that he did with Buddy Matthews was kind of leaning into that. So after the match, Ospreay grabs a mic. He accidentally calls Buddy Matthews Buddy Murphy. Whoops. So he did that, but he quickly recovered. But it doesn't matter. But that was just kind of funny. But he basically puts over Buddy Matthews. He says to the crowd, he goes, "Give a hand for Buddy Matthews." He says, "I've wrestled you before. I've wrestled Brody." And he goes, "And neither of you should be following a leader." That was the line. He goes, "Neither of you should be following a leader." And he goes, "And I'm going to be honest with you. I think you can win. I think you can win singles gold, tag gold, whatever you want." Sandy, what's going on, my friend? Good morning to you.
Sandy.
Oh, actually afternoon to you where you are. But welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. He says, "I think you can win gold, not just tag gold, not just trios gold, but singles gold if you want." And he goes, and if you ever need a man in your corner, buddy, I'm your guy. That's what he said. And I wanted Buddy Matthews to grab the mic and go, "You're not my guy, friend." That's what I wanted him to do. But he didn't. He didn't. But that would have been fun. "You're not my guy.
You're not my friend, pal."
Yeah, you're not my friend, pal. I would have loved it if they did the South Park thing right there. That would have been fun.
You're not my pal, buddy.
And then Buddy Matthews they shake hands. They have a little moment, and that's how the segment ends. I thought it was fine. I thought that part of it was fine, but to me, and then you started seeing the reports from Fightful, you started seeing the reports from other people saying that nothing is confirmed. Nothing is confirmed. But there, the rumor is that was maybe done because Malachi Black is potentially or either on his way out or has already run his course with AEW. So if that is the case, which is, I feel like this has been a rumor for a year and a half with this guy. He's staying, he's going, he's staying, he's going. I don't know what's going on. We'll know when we find out, So I'm not going to jump into a 10 minutes of speculation about it. If he leaves, he leaves. If he stays, he stays. It's fine. Either way. But I feel like this promo with Ospreay to Buddy told me that he's probably, yes, that it's Buddy and Brody from here on out. Whether they keep the House of Black name or they just kind of stay aligned and call themselves something, I don't know. But because obviously Malachi Black, House of Black, it was named after him. So I don't know what they do, but that promo with Ospreay to Buddy after this kind of let me know that it's probably, we're not going to be seeing Malachi Black anymore. My guess would be he would probably be heading back to WWE if I had to guess if he's leaving. That seems to be, he was a superstar in NXT. He was treated as a top guy in NXT before he got to the main roster, and Vince did what he did with all the NXT guys back then. I feel like with Triple H running things, that's probably a likely destination that he would go back there. He knows he'll be in good familiar hands. Yeah. With that being said, go ahead.
If you don't want to be there, there's no reason to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was up there, Fernando. Certainly up there. I mean, with Ospreay, that's what you're going to be. That's what you're going to get with Ospreay. You're going to get that, This was a fantastic match for Buddy. It was a fantastic match for both of them. It was a great opening to the show. And I think AEW needed it. They needed to kick it off with a match. And this was like you said, Drew, the perfect match to kick it out with these two. And we'll just have to see where this goes future. I loved it because Brody King was not there last night, but Brody King was tweeting about Buddy Matthews and how great he was that whole match. Like Buddy Matthews was like just quote tweeting and just tweeting the whole time about how friggin' good Buddy Matthews is. And I was like, that's friendship right there. That is friendship. And it made me feel good. Aleister Black's entrance in NXT was really, really good. Was really, really good, Sandy. 100%. All right. After that, we have private. I felt like the first half hour of this show was commercial free. There were no commercials the first like half hour, 40 minutes of this show, by the way. I don't know if that was announced or not, but it felt great. Private Party makes their entrance. They cut a promo from the stage. They talk about making history and main eventing collisions with the tag team title match for the first time ever while it was simulcasting on Max. And they said, and we want to celebrate. They had a couple ladies with them. They had some liquor. They were ready to party. And then we hear the entrance of the Hurt Syndicate. And we see MVP come out. He's with Shelton. Shelton wearing a beautiful looking coat.
Oh my God. He looked like a friggin' fashion model. Right?
Him and MVP both. I mean, Bobby was in wrestling gear, but him MVP and Shelton both, man, look like $1 million. They all look like $1 million when they're in their regular non-wrestling gear. They're wearing their nice suits, their coats. I don't know how you can't look at those guys and see billions and billions of dollars. Like, how do you not look at that and go, that is money? That is money. Ridiculous. But anyway, Hurt Syndicate comes out.
It's rumored, by the way, as Sinner said, we're not an expert on this, but it's rumored that they hurt people.
I think they do. That's what I've been told, is that they hurt people. So Private Party lets them, they had the ropes out there. They let them through the rope. And MVP says, hey, we like to party. Hurt Syndicate likes to party. We're not all business all the time. We like to have a good time. He's like, velvet robes, VIPs. He's like, I invented this. I'm MVP. I invented this type of stuff. Which he's not lying. He's not lying. And he suggests, hey, why don't we have a toast in celebration? Your tag team victory. You're the tag team champs. These young kids, all these talented athletes that defended their titles. Let's have a toast. So they all pick up a drink. Bobby's over there. He's got no shirt on. He's ready to go. He's in wrestling gear. He's just showing off the guns, showing off everything. They all get a shot. And Cassidy has the mic near Bobby. And right as they're about to toast, Bobby goes, here's a toast to the Hurt Syndicate and Private Party And here's a toast to the Hurt Syndicate taking those tag titles from you. To which, obviously, for Private Party, the party stopped right there and things got serious. And Bobby Lashley then poured out his shot into the ice bucket. And they didn't get physical. They didn't do anything like that. But it was definitely a warning shot to Private Party that your days are numbered, boys. Because if Bobby and Shelton are coming for those titles, Bobby and Shelton are getting those titles. They're getting those titles, Private Party. Sorry. Your days might be numbered. But I thought this was a great segment before what we'll talk about, another really good match. I thought this was a great segment. I loved the idea of the Hurt Syndicate getting the tag titles, just running roughshod in the tag division.
Yeah, I mean, that if it's just going to be the two of them and MVP, I think it makes all the sense in the world. Also, while I do agree with the sentiment that was just said by Fernando there,
I mean,
you know,
they're
they
looking
won the
okay
tag
now.
titles.
Yeah, they're looking okay now.
Initially, after winning the tag titles, after it was made to be a huge deal, they disappeared. They were not really on TV anymore.
Yeah,
which is strange because I mean, they also just won it right before the C2, so it was not going to be, you know, the thing with the most attention on programming because of the C2 tournament. But you know, they could have had like a storyline with somebody. Didn't have to all be just the C. You know, we didn't have to put all of our energy just on the C2, and Moxley's thing. So
we'll talk about that.
We'll see. I mean, I don't want them to lose the titles immediately because they really
I don't either.
did just win them.
Yeah, I don't either. But at this point, do you really believe that Private Party could even pull an upset victory over those two guys if it's an attack? Like, I don't see it happening. I just don't. Unless there's some real chicanery.
Honestly.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because
I'm not saying that as like, oh, they're skinny guys or anything.
Oh, no.
I don't care about that stuff.
I don't either.
I like them a lot. I think
I do too.
They are phenomenal talent. They're very good wrestlers, and they deserved that moment beating the Young Bucks for the titles.
But they also deserved a proper title run afterwards, which unfortunately,
which they've not
we didn't
gotten.
See. Yeah.
You know, that's where Fernando's comment comes in, and they definitely didn't get a good a good title run post winning the titles, which seems to kind of be like a thing lately. In AEW, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was going to say it's not uncommon.
What?
I was going to say it's not an uncommon thing we've seen in AEW for like a big thing to happen and then there's no real follow-up. And it's like, okay, we just did that to do it. You know?
Yeah.
You get that vibe sometimes.
I don't want them to immediately face the Hurt Syndicate, but if that's what ends up happening, I think it would be foolish not to put the titles on the Hurt Syndicate, unfortunately. And I mean, I say unfortunately, but it's not. I don't even mean unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Private Party.
Yes.
But it's fortunate for AEW and for the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah.
Because I want to see Private Party get a decent title reign with some good opponents and some fun matches. But if they decide to pivot from, it seems, Swerve and Bobby Lashley, for some reason they just decided not to continue with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we know why they're not continuing that in kayfabe. I'm just saying, like, why they're now doing what they're currently doing instead of continuing Bobby and Swerve. Okay, but if they're going to be in those tag title picture immediately, they got to win the titles.
Yeah, I agree. This then led to Bobby Lashley walking down the ring and having a one-on-one match with Mark Briscoe. Now, Drew, we've said this before. I've at least said it before, but I believe you've said it and agreed with me. There have been a plethora of matches that happen in AEW that I did not know I needed. Now, I have been a wrestling fan for 30 years or so, maybe a little under. Not once in my brain, in my wrestling fandom, did I ever think that Bobby Lashley versus Mark Briscoe would happen? Or did I ever even have the thought that this was a match that I would see or want to see at any point, because I just never even thought about it. But I had so much fun during this match. I loved this. This match was Bobby Lashley beating the shit out of Mark Briscoe, throwing him around for 75% of the match, and then Mark Briscoe being the best. I love Mark Briscoe. I say it every time he's on my screen. I just say I love Mark Briscoe. And then it was Mark Briscoe the other 25% of the time fighting back and doing his thing. And the crowd, I love this match, Drew. I thought it was so fun. Obviously, the end result was what I think we all thought it would be. But, man, I enjoyed this. I had so much fun during this match. I enjoyed it a lot. And it's just, again, one of those things where it's like, this is what I want to see out of Bobby Lashley, man. Because I didn't watch Bobby Lashley's TNA run. I didn't watch when he left. I wasn't even around for Bobby Lashley's first WWE run. Like I wasn't watching regularly at that point. That's when I was kind of on my, in my early 20s, taking my wrestling break. So when I came back, Lashley was already like at the end of his first original run. And then I didn't watch his stuff outside of WWE. So really, wrestling wise, the majority, if not almost everything that I've seen from Bobby Lashley has been the WWE presentation of Bobby Lashley. So now seeing him in AEW and seeing him wrestle people like Swerve and Mark Briscoe, and there's so many other guys, him versus Kenny Omega down the line. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to see that. Are you shitting me? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I want to see out of Bobby Lashley, is him fighting guys and fighting types of wrestlers that I haven't seen him fight before. And I thought, Briscoe's not, Briscoe is just a different opponent for, I loved it. I loved it. And MVP was stellar on commentary. He was excellent.
Oh, yeah.
He always is, but he was particularly excellent last night on commentary. The whole thing with the chair and him flipping out at the end.
He's cheating.
Oh my God. I loved it.
Oh, it was so funny.
It was the best. It was the best. I liked everything about this. Lashley wins with the Hurt Lock. Afterwards, the Hurt Syndicate gets in the ring and they start beating down Mark Briscoe, which was very unnecessary. What the hell did Mark Briscoe do? Besides try to win a match. And then Private Party makes the save with chairs. They run off the Hurt Business. So obviously, kind of continuing that. I agree with you, Fernando. Mark Briscoe is a guy to me that the crowd is always going to be rooting for that guy. Just always. He hits everything. He's a good wrestler. He's a brawler. He can do some high flying stuff. He's hilarious. A good promo. Like, that guy is like, he's so good. They do hurt people. So maybe that, that's probably why they were trying to hurt Mark Briscoe after the match. They do hurt people. I've heard that. I've heard that's their thing. But I thought this was good, Drew. I thought this was good all the way from the beginning. The stuff with Private Party before, all the way through the stuff with Private Party after. I thought this was a good little piece of business. And even though we know where it's probably going for Private Party and we're sad about that, I'm all in on this. I'm all in on Private Party versus Hurt Syndicate for the titles. I'm all in on it.
Yeah. I mean, I said my piece about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As for this match, I was a little surprised that this was happening, because they're not in a feud or anything, right?
No, it just was like just a one-off, I guess.
Just like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is actually kind of like what you were saying. Something I didn't know I needed, because Mark Briscoe is just a treasure, an absolute treasure.
Absolutely.
And he makes everything good. Everything he touches is amazing. So I have nothing negative to say about him at all. So I was very happy with this match. I loved MVP on commentary as well, like I said. And MVP, I mean, he should be on commentary more, to be honest.
He's fantastic.
I really, really love his style of commentary. He's got that perfect heel. the tone of his the way he speaks, like everything about him is incredible.
Mhm.
So I would love to hear him on commentary more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, every time he's on commentary during the Hurt Business's matches, it's fantastic. He's so good at it. And last night he was, I mean, he's always good at it, but last night he was just on fire. He was on fire last night. It was amazing. We then had, first and foremost, because we're going to be talking about our Casino Gauntlet, because that was next. They announced this week that we're going to have our first ever women's Casino Gauntlet next week. And there was a match later that determined something in there that we'll talk about when we get there. But I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool that they announced they're having their first ever women's gauntlet match in a couple weeks, or is it a Maximum Carnage is what they're calling it? Is that a theme Dynamite Maximum?
Yeah, that's
Carnage,
I think that's next week.
Is that next week or 2 weeks? It's next week, right?
I think it's next week. No.
Yeah. So the women's gauntlet will be on there for a number one contendership for the world title. And that will happen at Grand Slam in Australia. So that's very cool. So last night, we had a Casino Gauntlet on the men's side of things. And the winner of this match is facing Jon Moxley for the heavyweight title next week on Dynamite at the Maximum Carnage show. The match started off, the number one seed, which we knew last week from his victory, was Switchblade Jay White. And then the number 2 slot went to Hangman Adam Page. I thought that was really good to get Jay White and Hangman back in the ring together with their little mini feud that they've had before the 4-way stuff. And I thought it was a perfect 2 guys to open this. I liked it a lot. They wrestled for a good amount of time, a good 5 or 6 minutes before the third entrant came out. And that third entrant was Wheeler Yuta. So he comes out. Lawrence, happy birthday, my friend. I'm going to put Lawrence over. It's Lawrence's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
So everybody in the chat, say happy birthday to Lawrence. I know I yell at him a lot, but it's still his birthday. So say happy birthday. Can I tell you, Wheeler Yuta, he looks like such a piece of trash. And I mean that with respect, but with his beard and the hair and just the way he carries himself since he's like officially joined the Riders as the bad guy, he looks like such a piece of crap. Such a piece of crap. When he was walking down there, I was like, that is a dude you just want to punch in the face. That guy, you just want to punch him.
He has a punchable face.
Yeah. He does. It's unbelievable. So Wheeler Yuta was the third entrant. He obviously cost Jay White the world title match in that 4-way. So they had some history there. Exactly. Yuta had you heated. Exactly. That's what he's there for. He's good at it. So he comes in, and then we had the fourth entrant. And this, to me, I'm not joking. The match was great. This was the best part of the whole friggin' thing. Is the fourth entrant. So they did it. So by the time the countdown ended, Hangman was the only guy standing in the ring. And he's looking at the entrance. The buzzer goes off, and we hear, whose house? And Hangman, the crowd, me, and I'm sure all of us were like, oh, shit.
Me? Yeah.
Oh, shit. We're like, Hangman and Swerve, they're going to do it again. And then immediately you heard they added the laugh to Ricochet's entrance. Because you heard his ha-ha, whatever that laugh is that he does.
Incredible.
And then it turned to Ricochet's music. And Ricochet just slowly, deadpan, no emotion, not laughing, not anything, just walks out so slow, just with a dead, like, yep. And I was like, hell yeah. I was like, that is perfect for Ricochet. Fucking troll, man. That was a troll job to not just to everybody, including me, including my ass on my couch. Because that Swerve music hit, and we all thought that we were all pumped. We were like, oh shit, Hangman and Swerve.
The crowd,
hell yeah.
The anticipation from the crowd. Like,
exactly.
Oh my God, it's going to be Swerve. And
here we go, Swerve and Hangman.
They did
again.
it
Let's
how,
go.
like, in a classic way of like, oh, the field has been plowed.
Yep.
Nobody's standing except Hangman. And then Swerve's music hits. It was like,
and we we were like, we're gonna get a face off. It's gonna be so good, these two. And then immediately it was like, nope, I trolled you. Incredible.
And there we go.
Incredible.
It was incredible.
Very good. Very, very good. So Ricochet was the fourth entrant. He was then followed by Adam Cole, was the next entrant. We then had Daniel Garcia come out sixth. Powerhouse Will Hobbs was the seventh entry. Roderick Strong was the eighth. Lance Archer was the ninth. Good to see Lance Archer. They don't use him enough. He came in there and he cleared house and had some good spots in this match, especially when they had the face-off with him and Hobbs, the two big boys, doing that thing. That was very cool. Yeah. Good to see Lance Archer out there. I know he's teaming with Cage and Ring of Honor, but I think Lance Archer is a guy you can look at. He's been there since basically day one. And he's a big mother. And he can do some agile stuff. You know, I know there's some injury stuff, but yeah, I feel like he's been an underused guy. Kyle O'Reilly was out 10th. And then Jeff Jarrett came out as the 11th entrant. And, you know, the way that these gauntlet matches go, they basically say there's an infinite amount of entrants. It really just goes until the match is over. So we didn't know if it was only going to be 11 dudes. We didn't know. But Jeff Jarrett came out as the 11th entrant. Wheeler Yuta cut Jarrett off immediately and just beat him up to the back. So Jarrett never really entered the match. And while all that was going on, they kind of showed Wheeler and Jarrett go to the back. They went to the ring, and Will Hobbs immediately hit a spinning spine buster on Kyle O'Reilly, and he got the 1, 2, 3. And kind of I will call this a pleasant surprise. Out of nowhere, to me, kind of, powerhouse Will Hobbs gets the victory, and he is going to be challenging Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship next week. Now, I know what everyone's going to say. I know that Powerhouse Hobbs is not beating Jon Moxley next week. I know this. But I am always going to be a fan of when wrestling companies put mid-carders in world title spots in a one-off. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I thought Hobbs winning and getting that match next week, which he will not win, but it will be a showcase match for Hobbs in a main event for a world title, letting everybody know this is how we feel about this guy. We feel like that he is eventually going to be at this level. So we're giving him this match now. I believe it was Hobbs versus Moxley where Hobbs blew his knee out as well. I believe that was a one-on-one with Moxley. So they're kind of running that back, and hopefully everything goes and everyone's healthy and everything goes smoothly. But I think that they're also running that back. But I wasn't expecting Hobbs to win like Fernando, but I actually was quite pleased that Hobbs won. I felt good about it. I was like, cool, good for Hobbs, man. Good for Hobbs. I liked it. And I thought it was a star-studded gauntlet match. A lot of big names in there.
It was. So I, earlier in the day, tweeted, so this is going to be an obvious one, right? Because
did you think it was going to be Jarrett?
I figured it was going to be Jarrett. That was because of the promo last week.
Yeah. Or do you think it was going to be Copeland?
Jarrett or another person that we're going to talk about in a little bit?
Yeah.
Cope? Oh, no, sorry. That's not his name.
Oh, no, I know. But is that who you thought it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I thought it was going to be that person or Jarrett based off of what's been happening because the last two tournaments that they did, the C2 tournament and the Dynamite Diamond Ring tournament, both ended the exact way you thought they were going to end.
Yeah.
Because they were using them as storytelling devices instead of something different. So when Jarrett came out, it was like, oh, okay. But then Wheeler got involved and took him away from it. So I was like, oh, okay. So when's the other person coming in? Because he's going to win.
Yeah.
And that person never showed up. Hobbs just took the victory. And I was taken aback. I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is different. Yeah. I like this. It should be this way.
Correct. There is nothing. I like when companies do this. It is okay when they do things like I like when people kind of out of nowhere get put in positions that you would not expect them to be put into. You know what I mean? Like going into this match, I'm pretty sure nobody thought that Powerhouse Hobbs was going to win this match. Nobody.
He was like one of the last people I would have picked.
Correct. And now they put him in a match. I thought it was a very good gauntlet match. I enjoyed it a lot, Fernando. I agree. I thought it was very well done. I thought they told stories throughout. Sinner, it's okay. I think your old man will get his world title opportunity at some point, and exactly 4 people will care. But it's okay. It's okay. You will get your moment in the sun. You will get your moment in the sun with your fella going for the world title, and no one will care. But Powerhouse Hobbs, good. I liked it. Post-match, Renee Paquette gets in there. She's talking to Hobbs, and she goes, Hobbs goes, let's shoot for a minute. He goes, I'll be honest. He goes, John Moxley was the guy who helped get me here. Without him, I would not be in AEW. He helped get me here. He goes, but with that being said, next week, and he did it, and after he said it, he looked right at Renee. Like he looked right at her. He said, I'm going to make John Moxley my bitch. And then he just kind of looked right at Renee, and Renee was like, okay. Renee was like, all right. Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
I question for that particular moment, why? I mean, I guess because of what Hobbs was going to say, but why the wife of the world champion?
They always have
in
her
that moment,
but they always have her talk to Moxley's opponents. I mean, she does mainly all of the stuff anyway. Like she does a lot, but like I feel like whenever she's talking to whenever somebody has to talk to Moxley's opponent, it's always Renee, because it has that dynamic that you know what I mean? Because I
mean, the whole thing of like nobody going to Renee and being like, hey, so your husband's kind of crazy right now. Do we want to maybe fix it? You know, like not one person since the Death Riders thing started has been like, hey, Renee, what's going on? Mox okay?
Well, I think here's the thing. I think now we're at a point where nobody gives a fuck. We'll talk about it later.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
we'll talk about it
even in the initial stage.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Nobody cared to try to ask her.
So Powerhouse Hobbs then leaves the ring, right? And as he's leaving the ring, Jeff Jarrett comes back from the back where he just either beat the crap out of Yuta or Yuta left him alone. I don't know how that ended, but whatever. So Jarrett comes back. Jarrett and Hobbs shake hands. They have a nice little moment before Hobbs kind of goes to the back, and Jarrett makes his way to the ring.
Slapped Jarrett's ass.
He slapped Jarrett's ass. Yeah, they did a handshake, and then he slapped his ass.
That's like what like the older generation does to the younger guys.
Listen.
That's that was funny. I actually laughed when he did that. I was like,
that felt like
it's not a negative thing at all.
That made me feel like maybe they're bullies. That made me feel like, are Hobbs and Jarrett like boys? Are they friendly back there? Like you slapped his ass like that? Like, hey,
I mean, Jarrett, for everything, by all accounts, Jarrett is a
tremendous
locker room leader type.
Yeah, like a tremendous
he's
individual.
An absolute great person.
Yeah.
We know, Sinner will talk wonderful things.
Yeah, and I agree with Sinner though. I don't show a lot of comments on the screen anymore, but I agree with Sinner. Ass slapping is fine between friends.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
100%. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, no, but yeah, I think that he is really, especially since Bryan Danielson has been gone. I think Jarrett.
He's definitely the veteran. I mean, he's easily the most veteran guy back there. He's been doing this shit for 40 years almost. So like he should be, you heard all those rumors back then of like, oh, the AEW roster didn't really like when the legends were there, Regal and all that. They didn't really ask for advice or they didn't really do blah, 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 blah. I feel like Jarrett's a guy back there that I feel like I see all the wrestlers gravitating towards or hear that they gravitate towards and they like him being around. And there's a reason why he signed a contract and he's on, you can have your arguments of whether you think Jeff Jarrett should be like a weekly focal point of AEW television in 2025. I understand those arguments. I will have a chat with you about it because I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not strong on either side. I think it's fine. I'm not a diehard Jarrett guy like Sunday Sinner, and I'm not a diehard anti-Jarrett guy like Pluggo. Like those are not my stances. I'm very in the middle with Jarrett. Like I see the money in old man Jeff Jarrett making one little mini run for the title and not getting it. And, I understand why that can work in 2025. And it will. I think it will if they do it right. I just, it is what it is. I crack the jokes about 4 people. There'll be more than that, obviously. But you know what I mean. It's,
Yeah.
But anyway, Jarrett's in the ring. And I will say this, because he was interviewed in the ring by Ian Riccaboni. And Ian Riccaboni was also excellent on Dynamite last night. I really loved
why Tony Schiavone wasn't there.
No Tony, but the 3-man boot they had right there, I knew it wasn't their A team, but it was Excalibur, Ian Riccaboni, and Daddy Magic. I loved that team last night. I thought they were great. I thought they were really good last night.
I think Daddy Magic and
Daddy Magic
Ian have done work before.
Yeah, he did Rampage for a long time. Daddy Magic, I think he was a regular on Rampage. He took over the Jericho role when Jericho stopped being the regular guy every week.
And so I think Ian was on Rampage for a little bit.
Yeah, Ian's been that. But I'm telling you right now, and I love Tony Schiavone, and I love Taz, and I love all those guys. I love Nigel. I love them all. Ian Riccaboni, to me, last night's performance, if I'm AEW, I'm asking Ian Riccaboni what he wants. What do you want? I want you at that table every Wednesday. He brought an excitement and a level of knowledge, and not that the other guys don't, but the energy at that table last night was infectious to me. It was infectious. And Riccaboni had a lot to do with it. He was excellent. All right, so Jarrett's interviewed by Ian Riccaboni, and before he really even can say anything, MJF's music hits. And at the moment when it came out, I just went, oh, MJF and Jarrett, huh? Okay. I was like, all right. But then this went out. First thing is first, MJF gets in the ring and he goes, Ian Riccaboni, you Bible-thumping prick, get out of my ring. That made me laugh because obviously, Then he introduced himself to Double J. He talks up Jeff Jarrett in front of Tennessee is where Jarrett's was born, where he's from. His family has a big time pro wrestling history in Tennessee and all that stuff. So he's talking up Jarrett's achievements. He says, but I've been doing some digging and I found out that you haven't been quite honest with everybody. He goes, because the contract you signed is only for 1 more year. He goes, and that's kind of embarrassing. He goes, because I know you don't want to retire. He goes, but that's all that professional wrestling wants to give you back. That's all they have left for you is just 1 year. He goes, but I'm here to make you an offer that I think will make you champion of the world 1 more time. He goes, it's a very good offer. It's a deal with the devil. He extends his hand. He goes, if you go with me, I'll make you the world champion. My only thing is, after you get the world championship, that the first title shot would come my way. He extends his hand. Jarrett considers it. He asks for the mic. He says, MJF, you are the longest reigning AEW champion. But you're still too damn young to understand that you'll learn a lot more from your failures than you do your successes. And he tells Max to screw. He goes, you know what? He goes, do you know what us older folks, do you know what us call people like you? One-hit wonders. Called him a one-hit wonder. Max gets angry. The crowd starts chanting one-hit wonder, clearly frustrating Max, which was very good. Jarrett said that he's been at rock bottom in professional, business, and in regular life. He says he's comfortable being at rock bottom. He goes, because it gives him the opportunity to crawl, scratch, and fight back to the top of the mountain. He said, they both know. He said, MJF, yo, Johnny, what's going on, man? For a couple weeks. All right, well, we'll be missing you in the chat, dude. You're usually one of our regulars here. So the next couple of weeks, we'll be missing you. Hope things are well. And yeah, make sure you pop in and let us know what you think about when you listen to the replays, dude. He says, MJF, you could have entered the gauntlet match tonight, but you decided not to because you would rather scheme and connive. I thought that was a good line by Jarrett.
Very good. Yeah.
I thought that was a good line. He goes, I've been on the top of the mountain 12 times, and I'm looking for number 13. And he goes, and what a difference a year makes. And he goes, I don't need you, Max. I ain't buying. And he calls Max an entitled prick. And he puts the microphone in his chest and leaves. And MJF, oh, here comes Lou. And MJF just angrily turns around and just kind of stares at Jarrett as he walks up the ramp. Listen, you can say what you want. I'm in. I liked it. I liked the segment. I am kind of in on a mini Jeff Jarrett MJF feud. I think that's fine for both. I understand, MJF may be doing something higher, but like MJF even said it in the promo. He said the world title picture is a little foggy right now. He goes, he said it multiple times. I want my Triple B back. I want my Triple B back. I want the title back. The fact that he's mentioning it is a good thing.
Yeah, very much so.
The fact that he's mentioning the world title and that he wants it back is a good thing. That means MJF is not that far away from eventually going after the title again. MJF does not need to be involved with this Death Rider shit at all. At all. That is not MJF's style. So, I liked the segment. I agree with everything pro wrestling. I think this is going to work. And I think Jarrett and MJF is a good little program. I liked it. Drew. I don't know how you're feeling about it.
No, the thing that makes me happy is that it's fresh.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not MJF and Adam Cole. It's a new direction. It's actually, I think, where MJF excels. This reminded me of an older MJF type of feud.
Yes, 100%. I was literally just going to say that. I was going to obviously let you finish your thought, but I was going to say last night that promo felt like I felt like that was the first real MJF promo since he's been back. Because he kind of came back and did the the Adam Cole stuff, and he was being a dick in those promos and being a heel. But last night he felt like MJF to me. He felt like MJF trying to weasel his way in, offering deals, offering money. The shithead shots he was taking were subtle and kind of funny and not just over the top like the grossest thing he could say, which that's what he does too. But last night just felt like you said, an old school MJF thing.
He'll probably will. I mean, there's going to be a Karen Jarrett.
To be. He's going to go deep. He's going to say
he's going to go there.
Yes,
he's going to go there.
Of course.
But that'll come maybe next week or the following week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to see MJF in the ring with a microphone. Not, like the promos don't have to be these edgy, taking the worst shot you possibly can type promos, like every single promo with Adam Cole was last year. And it's just like, it reminds me of MJF CM Punk a little bit. It reminds me of MJF John Moxley from a year, 2 years ago, whenever that was. It reminds me of that MJF instead of the MJF that got saddled with Adam Cole for a year straight. I was very happy for this. And I'm looking forward to more. I want to see what happens next week.
100%. All right. We then got some footage of the Death Riders beating the crap out of Darby Allin and kicking him down a flight of stairs. They showed us that. So we haven't. And commentary was like, we have not heard or seen from Darby Allin since. I still think Darby's the guy. That's taking that belt from Moxley.
We're going to be waiting a long time for that.
It feels like it, but I still feel like Darby's that guy. They've not done enough to make me think it's going to be somebody else yet. They have not done enough. Okay. We then have Adam Copeland. That's what I'm going to call him. That's what I'm always going to call him. You can call him whatever you want in the chat. AEW can call him whatever they want. He's Adam Copeland. If I'm calling him a one-word, four-letter word, it's going to be Edge before I call him what they're calling him now. I'm going to be honest with you. Ridiculous.
I have a word.
Well, Adam Copeland comes out. I do like that they're doing the legend thing, but it spells edge in it. I do like that. I'm not going to buy
my word. So we say Cope and all
you
that
say
other
legend?
stuff. My word for him is ledge.
Ledge. That's fair. I'm just going to call him Adam Copeland. That's what I'm going to do. But like, I do like how they are spelling out legend with edge in there. I just think, I'm a sucker for easy things like that. I was like, oh yeah, edge. Anyway, so Copeland comes out. He calls Jon Moxley out, talks about everything he did, Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin. He says, but where you cross the line is you mess with FTR. He goes, that was a massive mistake. What's going on, Tom? How you doing, friend?
Hey,
Hope
Tom.
you're doing well, brother. I keep seeing you putting your workout videos, your boxing videos. Keep that shit up, brother. You're an inspiration. My fat ass needs to start doing stuff like that. Jesus. Anyway, so Mox says, Switchblade, Orange Cassidy, Darby don't have what it takes for the championship grind. Ooh. Well, let me tell you, Adam Copeland, I want to see you wrestle all those guys. Hopefully that leads to you wrestling all those guys. But he called them out by name. And he said, they don't have what it takes. He goes, he says he disagrees on principles. He goes, but no one has fought through what he's had to fight through to get back to the ring. He says, I'm a different animal entirely. He goes, I broke my neck in a match with Eddie Guerrero. And he goes, and you know what I did? I got up, I wrestled for 20 more minutes, and I won that match. He goes, I fought Malachi Black in a barbed wire steel. Hello, Lou. He goes, I fought Malachi Black in a barbed wire steel cage match, and I broke my leg. And you know what I did? I got up, I wrestled for 10 more minutes, and I won the match. Both those instances, 100% true. He literally beat Eddie Guerrero. Again, obviously the matches it's wrestling. It's wrestling. But, wrestled for 20 minutes with a broken neck, wrestled for 10 minutes with a broken leg. Savage. He goes, so as much as he knows John is one of the toughest bastards to ever step foot in the ring, what exactly can Moxley do to Ed? Oh, I almost called him Edge straight up. What exactly can Moxley do to Adam Copeland that hasn't been done to him before? And at that moment, we hear the Death Riders theme. Now, obviously, I want to talk about this segment, but I also want to talk about, did you notice that your AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley, came out to no reaction? No one cared. When him and his gang walked out, nobody reacted. That's not a scrub, dude. That's Jon friggin' Moxley. And no one cared in that arena. That was as quiet as a response to Jon Moxley. And that crowd was hot last night. That was as quiet a response to Jon Moxley that I've heard since he stepped foot in AEW. Sorry, Lou. Sorry, bud. I'm in it. That says a lot to me about how all of us are feeling about this Death Riders angle. Because you have your world champion, again, haven't seen the belt in 2 fucking months. But you have your world champion who's one of the most popular wrestlers in the world, Mr. AEW. And he came out to almost no reaction last night. That was the thing that stuck out to me the most about that. And I didn't even dislike this segment. That was the thing that stuck out to me the most. I was like, these people are not even reacting to Jon Moxley.
Well, yeah, that's the main problem with this. The main problem with this whole thing is that Ledge is just not. I think it's weird for him to be the guy right now.
You think it has to do with him? I don't think it has to do with him at all.
Well,
I think it 100 has to do with
not,
nobody cares about the Death Riders anymore.
I don't think it's that people don't care about the Death Riders.
Or maybe we're all waiting for, like, what's the next thing here? What are we doing?
We're waiting for the title to come back.
That's part of it, I think, for sure.
The title being gone since Wrestle Dream.
Yeah,
wrestled.
it's been like 2 months.
It's been like
Almost
more than
3.
that. That was in
Yeah.
October.
Yeah. Like it's been, yeah.
The fact that I have to see the AEW title from somebody sitting in the crowd with a replica or a football player holding it is like, that's your championship.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you want everybody to see. And
Mhm.
that's a beautiful title.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know, like, listen, the WWE titles with the big old W on them, I have one of them. They're fine, you know. Some people just detest them and hate them. I don't think that they're terrible, but the AEW World Championship is the best looking title on wrestling television today.
I mean, it's up there.
That is my favorite one.
Yeah. It looks like an old school big championship belt, you know? And yeah, we haven't seen it for some time. And obviously this leads to things. So they come out. I just wanted to, because I felt like that was the thing that stuck out the most to me. This whole thing was like, holy crap. Like they're not even reacting to Moxley. But the Death Riders come out. It's Moxley, it's Claudio, it's Wheeler Yuta. They're by themselves. We know Marina Shafir there. They come out, but as they get to the ring, Ophelia, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's another thing too.
Ophelia in the chat, I'm getting tired of Mox, etc., telling me that the promotion I enjoy sucks. It's fair. It's fair. It's a fair thing. I think that's the thing. When she says I'm getting tired, I if that response was I'm angry that Mox keeps telling me that the promotion I like sucks, that's what they want you to feel. They want you to be angry about it. But I don't think fans are angry about it. I think fans are tired. They're like, okay, we get it. What's next here? What's happening here? Like, we get it. Yes, you hate AEW. It needs to go back to its roots. You come out, you beat people up, and then you run off. When other people come.
You turn world title matches into Bloodline 2.0 matches.
Yeah. Yeah. And Doc, I'm right there with you. I'm just tired in general, too. I turned 40 this year. God bless. But, I think that's what it is they're not getting the right reaction for Jon Moxley because they want all AEW fans to be angry and like, we need this guy out of. They want the fans to be like, get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
And I think there are some of us that are like, yeah, okay, not like get him out of here, but you know what I mean? Like there are some people that feel that way, but I feel like the majority of us are like, get this over with. And those are two different feelings.
It is multifaceted though. Like the reason why I was mentioning Ledge is because when this storyline with the Death Riders started, it was trying to get the young guys, the guys that people were really like cheering for, Daniel Garcia, Private Party, Top Flight, those, the type of middle card type of men.
Yes.
Them motivating them to step up. They were the ones that were in the parking lots waiting for the Death Riders to show up while Hangman and Swerve were doing their thing. And Adam Cole was doing his own thing. And Will Ospreay was doing his own thing. And nobody was like, none of the like established main event, former world champions were giving a shit.
Yep.
They were the ones in the parking lot. They were the ones chasing off the Death Riders. And then all of a sudden, it was just like, oh, well, Daniel Garcia won the TNT title. He's in the C2 now. He doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
Private Party won the tag titles. They disappeared from television. They don't give a shit anymore.
Yep.
Top Flight, they had some infighting. Now they're fighting each other. They don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. And then it became Hangman, Orange Cassidy, and Jay White were the guys. And now it's Adam Copeland who's the guy. But Jay White, they're still kind of hanging around. Like Jay White is still. So it's just kind of like who's actually going to be the guy? Darby. But I'm like, who's actually going to be the guy? Like, when are we getting to the guy? Because now we have Hobbs and Moxley next week. Obviously, we can all pretty much take it to the bank that Moxley's going to retain, or Hobbs will look like he's going to beat him and there'll be a DQ because whatever. Something's going to happen. We know Hobbs isn't winning next week, or we're leaving with the title. And then we're going to be heading towards Copeland. Okay. I don't think Copeland's the guy either. So, it should be the guy that we're going to talk about at the end of the night, if you want me to be honest with you. It should have been immediately. You know who should have showed up in the gauntlet match and just won it? Kenny Omega. That would have been no, and that's no slight to Hobbs. I'm very happy Hobbs is getting that moment. He deserves it. I'm very happy about that. But Kenny Omega should have just fucking entered the gauntlet and won, and he should win the title next week. It's Kenny Omega.
The thing that I saw the most out of everything over the weekend when that match with Gabe Kidd happened was end this Death Riders thing and get this title on Kenny Omega. That was
100%.
legitimately, like, I can't tell you how many tweets I saw that were just legitimately like, why are we not throwing this title at Kenny Omega right now? Immediately. Even on this Dynamite last night. People were like, you just have him in the ring and challenge Jon Moxley and beat the fucker. And that's it. And the resurgence in positivity and joy for watching this company would immediately rise. Immediately. Because like Ophelia said, like Doc is saying, people on Twitter, people everywhere. I'm not on Blue Sky as much, but that tends to be generally pro AEW, so I don't really know what the feeling is there.
I feel like a lot of us I feel like the general wrestling community, we like the dudes that are in the Death Riders, so I don't think we're like openly like shitting on them or people, but I think the general public is growing tired of it. We need something else to happen in the story that like moves it to the next step.
Which is what I thought was going to happen at World's End. But no.
It feels like we've just been in this malaise of the same rinse and repeat crap it's like, okay, when do we get to the next step in the story? Because it's been this,
or I'll even say
months.
if World's End was booked that way in a way to show like a symbolizing of, it's Ledge is the Death Riders World's End. That's a shitty World's End, because it's not what a majority of people want. I don't see people really like going, oh yeah, I want to see Ledge with the AEW title. I don't see that really, that sentiment, especially with the whole Kenny Omega thing, like you mentioned. Like, people just want it to get back to what it used to be, which is Kenny Omega, Hangman, the Bucks, that whole arc, that like pre-Punk even 2021 AEW, that was just like really gung-ho and exciting and building filling. Fans paying tickets to see, nearly a million watching every week. And again, I'm not a ratings guy. Don't care about that stuff.
Well, now it's going to be even more with the streaming stuff. Now ratings everywhere is just going to be even more. I feel like hopefully this goes more towards the direction where we don't have to talk about, we don't here. And we, on both of our shows and with Pluggo, we don't talk about ratings because that doesn't matter to us. But at the same time, hopefully now that places are streaming and things like that, we can just get rid of the ratings banter.
It would be wonderful.
Forever. Lou needs to make up his mind. He's coming in and out of this room like 4 times. We've been going, it's like, dude, brother, either you're hanging or you're not, man. Strap in for the party or get out, bro.
So,
Tom.
So then my thing is that it's not just with the Death Riders, because I think that people, like you said, people care about the Death Riders.
Yeah.
But what's happening is that what people are caring about the individuals in the Death Riders, but the Death Riders' overarching story sucks.
Yeah, it's just not good.
It's bad.
Yeah.
And it's involving 2 major titles in this company. Because we're talking about the AEW title, but it also
Trios.
involves the Trios title.
Yeah, the Trios titles haven't been defended or talked about at all. Now, in this segment, we did see the return of Pac. He has not been around for a little bit. He did show up in this segment at the end because as the Death Riders are walking towards the ring, FTR attacked them and got to them first, and it led to a brawl between the 6 individuals. And then we did see Pac come back, hits Marina Shafir showed up, and then Pac. And then as they're getting the Death Riders are starting to get the numbers game, we saw Powerhouse Hobbs come out, make the save to kind of build to that match next week. So that part of it, I was okay. I thought they made Hobbs look great throughout the whole show. They made him look like a star.
They did.
But like you said, yeah. And Fernando, I'm not against Rated FTR winning the Trios titles. I think that's a perfect spot for Rated FTR. So have Adam Copeland have this match with Mox because we know it's happening. Have him lose. And I think you're right about the Beth Phoenix thing. I wouldn't be shocked if Beth Phoenix shows up and maybe we get a mixed tag in the mix with her and Ledge against Mox and Marina. But I think Rated FTR
that I would actually like. That would be an interesting wrinkle into this because
I think that
and honestly, Marina's role in this has been by and large good. Like I've enjoyed her as like that, the like almost the bodyguard of the Death Rider.
100%.
A very different dynamic, obviously. But it's something that you don't see very often, and I've actually genuinely enjoyed.
100%.
But for her to just not have any comeuppance at all is weird to me. So to introduce maybe Beth Phoenix into this, I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate that, but it's still not. It's putting a Band-Aid on a very large wound. You've got to fix the wound itself. It'll be a fun little extra wrinkle into the program to add Beth Phoenix in, but it's not going to fix the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
And so Ledge and Bald and Hair, they are not the guys for me, and I think for many other people too. They're not the guys to be involved with, or at least be the ones to take down the Death Riders. So it's making the story just continue to feel stagnant because we know that Ledge is not going to defeat Moxley. So it's just going to keep continuing and going on and going on and going on until whoever they decide. And yeah, it is probably Darby. But then you can't put the title on Darby because Darby's going to Mount Everest in April. So now they could do he wins at Revolution and then Christian cashes the thing in on him. So he wins it immediately.
That's my assumption, is that there would be something like that would occur. I still feel like, I think it should be Kenny Omega, but I still feel like Darby's the guy. Yeah. But like even Ophelia says, last night there was a moment where Copeland and Marina Shafir got out there and Copeland had her. And he even said to her, he said, I can't do anything. You're a lady. I'm not going to hit you. Duh. So that kind of like Ophelia, Peggy said in the chat, that would imply, okay, I can't hit you, but guess what? Who can? My wife, Hall of Famer, Beth Phoenix. Like, yeah,
right.
She can hit you.
It was implied there heavily.
Exactly. So I do think we're going to see Beth Phoenix here on the lead up. And look, I don't think Copeland is the guy that takes the heavyweight title from Mox, but could Rated FTR be part of the solution to take the trios titles from them while Kenny or Will Ospreay I think Ospreay's another guy, obviously, clearly now that he doesn't have a belt. I feel like he is another guy you could immediately, the crowd would be like, yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are the two guys. So could Rated FTR be a part of the resistance? And they take the trios titles from the Death Riders while a Kenny or an Ospreay goes right for Mox. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it going that way. And I would be okay. I think Rated FTR being the trios champs makes sense because they'll wrestle and they'll actually want to have matches every week on Collision or whatever. And the trios titles will actually mean something.
Which is what you should want, what your champions should want to do.
Correct.
For the championships and defend them.
So I could see them starting with.
If you're a heel, it's a kind of a different story, but
so I could see that.
This just ain't it. It's just ain't it. Ledge, Bald, and Hair definitely could do trios championship.
Trio stuff for sure. Well, we talked about that a little bit earlier, Doc. You are not alone in the chat. There are some double J. I don't know. I with the all caps, I'm assuming you're being sarcastic. But there are some people in this chat that want that to actually happen.
Who are not being
correct. We then had this segment. We had Mariah May. She's cutting a promo. I figured you were. There were people in the chat earlier that were not, though. That were not. Let me tell you. Mariah May is talking about the women's Casino Gauntlet match. She's saying that they'll face her for the title at Grand Slam in Australia. They're putting that over. And then out of nowhere, you start hearing someone yelling, and Harley Cameron slides into frame. She's doing her like weird little voice and stuff like that. And she says, hey, she goes, I know you're the best. I know you're going to beat everybody. It doesn't matter who wins the gauntlet next week. She goes, but how about we give them a little preview of how great you are? And on Saturday, you and I, Hot Girl Graps. Hot Girl wrestled. Did she say Hot Girl Graps? Is that what it is? She said Hot Girl. Yeah. Hot Girl something. Hot Girl match, Hot Girl wrestling, Hot Girl Graps. I think it was Hot Girl Graps. But she says something like, give me some Hot Girl Graps. And Mariah May is like, at first she's like, why is this person talking to me? And then at the end, Harley Cameron she's terrific. She's so funny. She's great. And Mariah May accepts and she goes, Saturday, it's not going to go well for you. And Harley Cameron kind of does that, like where she's like, and she kind of does it. Then she yells and she slides out. And it was very funny. So we're getting that on Collision. We're getting Harley Cameron non-title match, Hot Girl Graps, Harley Cameron versus Mariah May. That's happening on Collision. That should be fun. And then we went into a triple threat match where the winner gets the number one entry in the women's Casino Gauntlet next week. It was Chris Statlander versus Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale, and this was good. This was very, very good. I liked it a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a sucker. I went in there thinking that it was going to be Toni. I was like, Grand Slam in Australia, Toni. That makes sense. But at the end of this match, Chris Statlander won it. I thought that of the three last night before the match, of the three, if you would have told me to rank who I thought was going to win, I would have picked Statlander last. I would have picked Statlander last,
actually,
behind Toni.
I would have picked Toni first, and then Statlander, and then Willow.
I mean, this isn't to win the Casino Gauntlet. This was just to get the number one spot.
The number one spot, right.
So Toni can still be in. I don't think she's going to be with what they did afterwards. Maybe. I don't know. But Toni can still win the Gauntlet. She can still enter the Gauntlet next week and win it. And Willow, it doesn't matter. This was just for the first slot, But I thought this was really a very good.
They do this too.
I did too.
This was a cool way because nobody really so obviously the other type of a match is the Royal Rumble. It's the most similar to this style, this gauntlet match. The Royal Rumble, you want to be number 30.
Yeah.
But in this match, you want to be number 1 because you can end this match at any point.
Yeah.
You don't end a Royal Rumble until every single entrant is in the ring, because you don't
Correct.
pin people in that.
Hmm.
So this is a really awesome way to get hype, one, for the match, but two, it shows the wrestlers caring, like, oh, I need that number one spot because I
Hmm.
could pin the second entrant and the match is over.
Yeah.
So
Hundred percent.
I really, this is my favorite wrestling concept. The Casino Gauntlet of just the Royal Rumble style battle royal type of a thing, but you want to be in. I loved when Roddy, when they did the men's one last year, and Roddy was
Mm.
like, I didn't get, like, I was supposed to be in that match and I didn't get to be in there because somebody wants, like, that type um of stuff from the wrestlers, of like, oh, I
Hmm.
didn't get to be in that match and I want to be first. That's really unique because there really isn't anything else like that
Yeah.
that I can think of, at least in wrestling right now. So
Hmm.
I'm very much a fan of the Casino Gauntlet.
Yeah. I I agree. I agree. And I thought this was a very good triple threat match between these three. I mean, three studs in the women's division, just three top of the top that they have in AEW with Willow, Tony, and Chris Statlander. I thought it was an excellent match. And Statlander gets the win. She's going to enter the Casino Gauntlet match at number one. And Fernando, I get it. I had no problem with. I would have had no problem with either of these women, any of them. Not either because there's three. Can you say either with three? Is that proper in English? Any? I should
Don't
have said
believe
any, right? You
so.
say any,
I
right?
think
Any.
any, yeah, it would be any, yeah.
Three or more, you say any, right? But I would have been okay with any of these women winning this match. Any of them. I think Statlander winning was good. And then after, we saw Renee Paquette backstage with, and look at, and like, this is Tony Storm's just getting started in the biz. Like, this is a big match for her. Like, it is what it is. And Renee interviews Tony Storm backstage. Tony Storm is emotional about it. She says she gave it her best, but she just wasn't good enough, and she's not ready for the Casino Gauntlet match yet. And she kind of storms off upset. So we'll kind of see where that leads. I saw some people online, and I had me and Peggy talked about it last night. Do you think there's a possibility that we see the return of Timeless Tony Storm in that Gauntlet match?
I don't
Because
think it's happening at the Gauntlet match. I think it's going to
do you think
happen.
she wins the Gauntlet match still, and then she returns as Timeless at Grand Slam in Australia in front of her home
I
people?
think something happens the Dynamite before Grand Slam,
Mm.
where because the thing about this is, I don't know if it's that she has, like, um oh god, what's the mind forgetting, that I forgot the name of, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like when you forget, like, something.
Yeah,
Amnesia. I don't know if she
amnesia.
has
Yeah, yeah.
amnesia, or if she knows that if she's doing this, like, purposefully. Like, so there's, like, the two avenues here are, she has amnesia and she doesn't remember the last 3 years,
Mm.
or she's actually Timeless Tony Storm playing the role of rookie Tony Storm, who fake out people so that this way she can reveal her grand master plan
Mm.
in some very timeless Tony Storm way. So
That
it's
would
got
be
to
bad.
be, it's one of the two things.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Uh, if it's amnesia, then I think something happens to Dynamite before. Maybe Mariah May clocks her again with the title, or something, and then that segment ends with her, like, very confused and befuddled and not knowing what's happening. And
Yeah,
then you
like
get
snapping
Timeless
out of
Tony
it.
Storm back at the
Yeah,
match, like, where it snaps her out of this whole thing.
yeah.
Or if it's Tony, if it's timeless Tony Storm playing the role of rookie Tony Storm, and there is no amnesia, and she is very aware of everything, then I think she comes out next week in the Gauntlet match as timeless Tony Storm.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I think we could get some fun. I mean, I like what they're doing with Tony Storm. I like she's the rookie. She thinks she's a rookie.
No, I love it.
Like
or
that.
maybe
I like it a lot.
You know what, too? I would even say not have her come out in the Gauntlet as timeless Tony Storm, but between like the first interaction back with Mariah May, she comes back as timeless Tony Storm.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, obviously, I can't imagine it being anybody else but her that would be facing Mariah May in Australia. Like, it has to be her, right?
Yeah.
Has to be.
In this case, I would be okay with it being the obvious winner because
yes, it had like
is genuinely the most entertaining woman in the company.
Yeah, yeah, and in Australia, like it needs to be her. It has to be her. I just wonder how does she just come out straight and because obviously they did this segment last night after the match of her being upset and saying she's not ready for a purpose. Is that purpose for her to just be this Tony Storm and just win the thing next week? Or does that lead to something else that maybe we see another different side of Tony Storm, whether it's going back to timeless or there's something completely different? What if she creates a third face of Tony Storm? And it's a new version, like the Cactus Jack version of Tony Storm. If you're doing the three faces, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how do you, I'm trying to think of how they do it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how they do it, right? Because clearly they made it a point that she does not feel like she's good enough or ready to win the gauntlet in this the new rookie old school Tony Storm. We're not mentioning timeless yet. We're not talking about that yet. So is it timeless? That's the thing that gets her over the hump, going back to that? Or is it, there's things can happen. Things can happen. You're not wrong, Fernando. She did do an interview as timeless Tony Storm that did say she was retired, and we haven't seen that gimmick since. But I happen to think at the very least, we're seeing it at Grand Slam. That is going to be the gimmick that beats Mariah May is timeless Tony Storm. All right. It was then time for our main event segment, and it was the return of Kenny Omega. New entrance music. Had the center entrance. He looked great, wearing a nice suit. He looked good. He gets on the mic. The crowd is going bananas. They're chanting for him. Kenny chants all over the place. He says, you guys aren't making this any easier for me. And I'm like, what? I started leaning. I go, don't do this. I go, don't fake like you're going to retire or something. Don't do that. Don't do that. He goes, but you guys aren't. I know. He's like, you guys aren't making this any easier for me. I was like, son of a B. He's like, it was a little over a year ago. I went to the hospital. Found out I had diverticulitis. I took 2 feet of my intestines. He goes, and the doc told me that if I hadn't gone to see him when I did, I would have died. I would have died. 100%. 100% I feel you. He says the past year has been a roller coaster. I had a successful surgery, but I had 2 questions for the doctor afterwards. How long is the recovery, and when can I get back in a ring? And he said, the doctor told me, Kenny, you'll be lucky if you're ever able to get back in a ring. Like you just got to focus on being able to return to a normal way of life, if that's even possible. He goes, that was obviously tough. He goes, being a pro wrestler and doing what we do, you push things too hard all the time. He said he ended up back in the, I don't know if this is true or not, but he said he ended up back in the hospital 4 more times after the surgery. And he started to ask himself if it was even worth it and things like that. He said, but when he thought about giving up being a pro wrestler, he asked himself what his purpose would even be on the planet if he wasn't a wrestler. And then he starts talking about a few days ago, I tested it out. I had a match. He didn't really go into the match, but I don't know if anybody hasn't seen the Kenny Omega Gabe Kidd match. It's like 30 minutes. It's a long match. It's like 30, 31, 32 minutes. Go out of your way. That is one of the best pro wrestling matches you will see. That
Actually,
was
haven't seen it.
Excellent match between him and Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd is a star, dude. So he says, a few days ago, I tested that theory and I found my purpose. He goes, if I'm not in this ring in front of you guys every week, giving everything I have, I'm not living. He says, showing us that, he goes, if I'm not showing that Kenny Omega can be the best, I'm not living. He goes, so even though I might not be the same guy, even though I might not be able to do some of the things I used to be able to do, this new version of Kenny Omega, I'm not concerned about money. I'm not concerned about power. I'm not concerned about revenge. I just want to prove that I am, and I think he was just going to say he is the best. And we see Don Callis's face on the Tron. And we hear the music. And Kyle Fletcher, Brian Cage, and Lance Archer all hit the ring, and they beat down Kenny. They hold him down, and Brian Cage gives him a big punch right to the gut. And Kenny's playing it off, coughing, looking like he's in, and they're beating down Kenny. They're setting him up for more. And Will Ospreay, music hits. He runs down with the chair in hand. He makes the save. The Callis family runs off. And then Dynamite ends with Ospreay and Omega face-to-face. Holy shit chants in the crowd with them face-to-face kind of having a conversation with each other. And then the show ends. So it seems like we already have a first feud building for Kenny Omega. It's going to be with Don Callis. He's fighting Brian Cage next week on Dynamite. That's his first official match they've announced. Is him versus Brian Cage. I saw Brian Cage tweet that, and he said, I signed with AEW 5 years for this match 5 years ago. Like, this is the match I signed with AEW for, was this match. Maria, I agree. I thought it was an excellent end to Dynamite. And you had the face-off with the two. Those are the two dudes, man. Those are the two guys. Omega and Ospreay. For me, when we did talk about the Death Riders at length, but when I talk about guys that should be taking the title off of Mox, those two guys are the only two options for me. I look at those two guys and I go, yep, pick your whatever you want. 1A and 1B. But those two guys are the guys. One of them should be the guy that eventually takes it off Mox. I feel like that is a thing. But I thought it was great to see Kenny. I thought he cut a great promo. I thought, obviously, you're going to get major heat with Don Callis and that whole crew. And I thought the whole thing with Ospreay and him to end, it was excellent. I thought it was a very good end to the show, Drew, with everything that went down.
Yeah, I didn't the end of the show.
Huh?
It wasn't like
I
didn't hate the end of the show. What? Something happened?
No, I didn't. Your audio, at least for me, your audio went out, so I just heard end of the show, and I was like, "What?" I didn't hear the first part. No,
yeah, you were like freezing for a moment for me. I don't know if it's my end or what. I didn't hate the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I loved seeing Kenny Omega back and everything. I just don't know, like, why are we throwing Don Callis back at him immediately? I don't know what the purpose.
Yeah, because the last time we saw Kenny, he got beat up by the Elite, right? Because he showed up for that one random show.
Weren't even on the show.
No, they're fighting again in Japan at the beginning of February. So it seems like they're hanging out in Japan for a little bit. So
I was like, okay, and then there's one point in the promo that Kenny is like, I'm not focused on revenge. So I was like, oh, okay, so that seemingly means something. But then I thought that meant that the Bucks were going to come out and save him at the end. But then it ended up being Will Ospreay. So it was a little confusing to me. Not in the sense of like storyline, but of like, why is it Will? I mean, Will is coming out because I guess they're now continuing stuff with Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, Will's like the good guy of the company, so
So yeah, it makes sense for him to be like the defender of whomever that's good against
The
evil
defender of
coming
the
out.
realm. He's the defender of the realm, Drew. Yeah, that's what he is. That's what he is.
I don't know what that's in reference to.
No, it's just, but like that's what he is. He is the guy. Osprey's the guy now that when other baby faces are in peril, Will Ospreay is one of the guys that comes out and helps him because he's the good guy. He's the good guy face of, So
Yeah. I was kind of just like not wanting. I don't know. Not that I wasn't wanting this because it's going to be great. It's this like new version of Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay because Kyle and versus Kenny Omega. I mean, because
yeah, that'll be fun.
didn't Kyle have a match with Kenny at some point?
Maybe I don't know if I'm not too familiar. Like you mean in AEW?
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe
Didn't
like
they? Before Kenny
year
got
and a
hurt
half
last year?
ago or something.
I'm not really sure. I don't remember that far back
Um,
for obvious reasons.
but then it's like, okay, so Kenny's back not to take back AEW from the evil that is plaguing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's back to wrestle and be there every week.
Yep.
Which, of course, I want to see him wrestle and I want to see him there every week.
Of course.
But considering he's an EVP of this company and John Moxley has taken the company from the people in the company, apparently, and holding the titles, the trios and the world title hostage, I would think that that's where the focus should be for people. But it's never after the new, like we talked about earlier, after like the up and comers, mid card guys stopped caring about it. It seems like nobody else really cares about it that much, except for like one other person or two other people. But since they did the murder death kill of Brian Danielson and like they were doing, oh, we can't show this footage, and they weren't showing it on social media, and and Tony Khan wasn't at that press conference to sell this absolute disgusting abysmal thing that happened to Brian Danielson at Wrestle Dream. It's like everything has gone back to normal while they're also telling a takeover storyline with the Death Riders. So, like, is there a takeover really if the top people of the company, particularly the executives and the president of the company, are not actively trying to stop the takeover of the company that's supposedly happening? It's
Sure.
it just feels like there's these everything exists in a bubble, and this Death Riders thing is, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Codyverse before Cody left AEW.
In AEW, yeah.
It's Cody is doing his own thing, however he wants to do it, off to the side, and everyone else is doing whatever they're doing. It's got that same type of vibe. Like the Death Riders thing exists in a bubble where the way that they're telling the Death Riders story, you'd think it'd be the number one thing in the company because it involves the top title in the company. But it feels like it's what like the international title would be involved in.
Yeah.
Not the main world heavyweight championship of the company that every single wrestler in the company should want to be going for. Like that's why this has like this weird feeling of existing in a bubble and not being as important, because Kenny Omega should be coming back to this company and immediately being like, motherfucker, you've got my company's title. I want that title back from you. I want to, have that title be shown and lifted above my shoulders and advertised everywhere, because that's the most important thing in this company. But nobody cares about it that much. Literally, the briefcase was in the, and obviously they're doing the thing, the title's not really in the briefcase,
Yeah.
but they're presenting it as if the title's in the briefcase, and Hangman OC and Jay White are in the ring, and the briefcase is there, and nobody opens the fucking briefcase to take the title out.
Mm.
Like, do you actually care about this that much? Does nobody care about the title anymore? It's just about being champion? I wanna see the title. I wanna see the guy that people see as AEW's number 1 as a babyface, Kenny Omega. I want him to be like, "These guys are running roughshod over my company, and they have the main title, and I'm a former world champion myself. I want that title back." Like what MJF was alluding to, and what Jeff Jarrett has alluded to. But it's like the main guy in the company doesn't give a shit about it. So why should I?
Yeah. I think Agent Joe's kind of on the money. He says seems like we're just delaying the Death Riders thing until we can get the Elite to reform and take back their company. But then again, when does Christian use his cash in for the title match? Because that's what it seems like. There's 4 of them. You got Kenny, you got the Bucks, you got Hangman. To me, that's what it feels like we're going. I think we're going to do the rated FTR and Beth Phoenix first versus them. But I think what we're getting to is what Joe alludes to in the chat is we're eventually going to get the Death Riders versus Kenny, the Bucks, and Hangman. It's going to be the Elite versus the Death Riders, because there's still that story when the Bucks left, they were shredding the papers, and the Death Riders were looking specifically for the Bucks, and they left.
Right.
So there's still that whole thing and then Christopher Daniels. Yeah, that whole thing they're doing with him and Hangman the last couple weeks, where he's trying to get Hangman to refocus, because I think Christopher Daniels is going to end up being not involved as in like a wrestling capacity that much. But I think what Joe says, Christopher Daniels knows where this is going, and he knows they need the Elite to take out the Death Riders. So he's trying to get Hangman to snap out of whatever thing he's been in since Swerve. He's trying to get him to go back to the old Hangman. We need the old Hangman if we're taking these fuckers down. That's what Daniels is trying to do. We need the old guy that was world champion to take these guys down.
Yeah, if that's the direction that they're trying to go with Christopher Daniels, I'm all for that. Yeah. Absolutely. But now the Bucks, I don't know what's going on. It's very weird. It just feels like everybody just does their own thing, and Tony Khan just signs off on whatever the hell anybody wants to do. And that's it. That's what it feels like. Kenny's going to do his own thing. The Young Bucks are going to do their own thing. Moxley's going to do his own thing. And none of it is going to make sense. They're all going to be separate from each other. And they're all going to tell stories that would make you assume that they should be the number 1 thing in the company. But I don't know. It's
I even thought
Ledge Bald and Hair can be totally fine here and take the trios titles. Like, I actually do think that would be a better avenue for them, like you were saying. But it just doesn't. Right now, we have to get through Grand Slam, and I guess it'll be Ledge and Mox at Grand Slam.
That would be my guess, is it would be that for the world title there. Although you could build, that would be my guess. And then Copeland will lose. And then I think we somehow still get rated FTR versus the other 3 for the trios. And I could see rated FTR winning that. And then that gets the trios titles away on a group that will wrestle and defend them regularly. And you can focus more on the trios titles with those guys. We did too, David. We both liked it. We talked about it earlier. We liked it. And that is true because the Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty this past weekend, the Young Bucks won the IWGP tag titles again. They won them at Wrestle Dynasty. They won that match, and they won the tag titles.
Which was a co-AEW New Japan thing, but
it was.
Doesn't
But
seem really like it was a co-AEW New Japan thing.
No, it very much had the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom vibe. It very much felt like I was watching Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. There was just wrestlers from AEW, CMLL, Ring of Honor. There was just, it wasn't just all
talk about it at all in AEW television for some reason.
Well, I mean, didn't the commentator get suspended for like 2 months because he was at the table? He was calling Tony Khan like a name. I don't know. I watched it, but I wasn't really paying attention to commentary. I really only watched the Gabe Kidd Kenny match, to be honest with you. Although I heard Zack Sabre Jr. and Ricochet was quite good as well, as you would expect. I did watch the 4-way with the women on the pre-show. That ruled. I thought Athena was going to win that. She didn't, but that ruled. But yeah, it was a co-branded pay-per-view, but when I was watching it, it definitely felt like to me that it was just Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. That was the vibe I got. It didn't feel like AEW had anything to do with like the production of the show, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, hey, we're going to have our wrestlers on here, promote us, like put us over. But this is it's a New Japan Pro Wrestling produced show that we're doing here. That's at least the vibe I got. But regardless of that, yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of ways it needs to go. There's a lot of ways it needs to go. Yeah, the New Japan guy got a 2-month suspension because I think he called Tony Khan like a money mark, or I don't know. He said something along those lines. I think he called him a mark, or he called him a line.
I think it was money mark.
I felt like I heard the lines after. I didn't hear them in real time to be like, oh, like, so I don't know how it felt me how it would have made me feel in real time because I didn't hear it, but I heard the snippet afterwards. To me, the whole event was New Japan guys versus AEW guys, Ring of Honor, whatever. Like, he's a New Japan announcer. I didn't really see a problem with the New Japan announcer taking digs at the other company's guys when they're going against guys that you know what I mean? I didn't really see a problem.
Yeah,
I get it.
I don't.
It doesn't matter to me, really. I don't care that much either. But yeah, and I also think Ophelia, yeah, you said that AEW didn't talk about it afterwards, and AEW didn't talk about it before either. They announced that they're doing
this. They referenced it last night.
Yeah,
and they showed. I think they even showed part of it, like a little highlight reel.
Oh, I didn't see that. I must have been not paying attention. That must have been when I was in the
I feel like they showed like
something. I don't remember that.
Small part of Ricochet, Zack Sabre Jr.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I don't remember that. You're more right than me. My mind is terrible. But like, I felt like leading up to Dynasty, they didn't talk about it at all. They didn't talk about how Ricochet was going against. Claudio fought on that. Ricochet fought on that. Willow Nightingale fought on that.
When Kenny came back in the at the end of that E2 tournament.
Yeah.
And I think Excalibur or somebody says, what's next for Kenny? It's like, well, a Dynasty is next. It's next week. Why aren't you saying that?
Yeah. They completely played it off that it was Tony Schiavone and it was Excalibur, and they were both leaning into that at the pay-per-view, saying like, oh, we haven't seen Kenny, but Kenny wrestle. What's next? How do we know how healthy he is? And I was like, he's booked for a match 7 days from now. So I would hope he's pretty healthy or healthy enough. It's like the fact that you kind of like played it off that way, that like that wasn't happening when everybody knows it's happening. It was very weird. It was very weird. But regardless.
Here's the other thing too that I'm a little confused by. They have Revolution as the pay-per-view that they're showing on the screens right now, not Grand Slam. Why?
Because Grand Slam's not a pay-per-view.
It's not?
No.
So what is it then?
Grand Slam has always been a Dynamite. It's been a Dynamite or a Collision. They treat it like it's a big deal because it is, but it's not a pay-per-view. That's going to be an episode of Collision.
Well,
it's on a Saturday.
On the website.
I don't view Grand Slam as a pay-per-view. We're not going to have to buy Grand Slam, I don't think. I think that's going to be on regular TV for us. or Max. You don't have to buy that. Grand Slam has never been a pay-per-view. It's always been a Collision. It's been a week of TV, a
How
Dynamite
is
and a
it going to be
Collision.
on TV though? If the
I
time
think it's going to be on
slots for it,
Max. I think it's going to be on Max.
oh, so it's just going to be on Max.
I,
Then.
I haven't looked into it that much because it was so far away. Now it's obviously closer with it being January. I haven't looked into it that much, but I heard the name Grand Slam, and in my brain I was like, that's not. I never even envisioned if it's a pay-per-view. I'm not gonna. Yeah, exactly. That's what it's always been. That's not. I don't think that's a pay-per-view at all. It's never
They're
been a
not
pay-per-view.
advertising it as a Collision. They're advertising
Yeah,
it as just AEW Grand Slam. That's it. So I
yeah.
figured it
I
was a
mean,
pay-per-view.
but it's never been one to me before, so I would assume that it's not. It's always been an episode of Dynamite.
When they advertised Grand Slam in New York here, it was
Yeah,
always AEW Dynamite / Rampage / Collision
yeah,
Grand Slam.
yeah,
This just says AEW Grand Slam. That's
yeah.
it.
I don't
So
know.
like AEW Revolution, AEW Double or Nothing, AEW
Yeah,
Full Gear, like it just got that
maybe,
paper.
maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what it will end up being. I don't know. I just in my brain, I never envisioned that it would. I just assumed it was just a show that's going to be on TV for us to watch. Grand Slam. That's what I thought. Because Revolution usually is their first. Now this is in March. Now it usually is in February. It's at the beginning of March now. Revolution, but I had just assumed that Grand Slam was a regular television show that we were going to watch. Now it's going to be at like fucking 3 a.m. here or something ridiculous like that. So I will not be watching it live, most likely,
Neither will I.
because I think it's going to start around 3 or 4 in the morning here on the East Coast. So like that'll be something that, hey, maybe I'll try to stay up for it, but most likely I'll be
It's
watching that later on in the day.
5:30 p.m. according to the
5:30 p.m. Australian time.
5:30 p.m. AEST. That's
Yeah,
the
that's Australian.
I guess that's Australian Eastern. I don't
Okay,
know
so
what
that's
that
even
means.
worse. So 5:30
That
p.m.
means 2:30 for us in the
in the
morning.
morning. In the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to be staying up for that. So I probably won't be in bed by the time it starts, but I'm not going to make it all the way through. But again, maybe you're right. I don't know. I just didn't even view it that way. I felt like they're not talking about it like it's a pay-per-view because it's not. It's never has been. But that is true. It is on a Saturday. It's not a normal. Grand Slam has always been a Wednesday, and then they filmed everything else. So this is obviously different with it's not being a Wednesday. It's a Saturday instead. But at the same time, like, yeah, I just hear Grand Slam and I don't think pay-per-view.
So I'm looking on Wiki right now, and it says AEW Grand Slam during All In on August 25th, 2024. AEW announced that the 2025 Grand Slam would be held as a pay-per-view event.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't even. Huh. Well, I'm probably not going to pay for that. If I'm being honest with you.
So I don't know. That's what I'm reading. Is that
Yeah.
what it is?
Huh. I don't know. We'll have to find out. I mean, what is it? What date is it on? 15th? What is it? No.
February 15th.
February 15th. So, I mean, look they got a little bit over a month to figure because I feel like have they been calling it a pay-per-view this whole time when they mention it on TV?
I don't know if I haven't honestly been. I'm going to pay attention to it now because I honestly
Yeah.
haven't been paying attention to that. But what's been striking me weird is that the past couple of weeks they show Revolution and like when they end the pay-per-view cycle and they're going to the next pay-per-view, that's the one that they show. That's the one that's on the camera and the one that they, in the angle they're doing, oh, it's going to be this person versus this person at this show. They always have that on the Tron and on the screens on above, where they do all the camera work. And I'm seeing Revolution, not Grand Slam.
Yeah. Well, Affiliate just says that it's not showing up on Triller for purchase, which I assume that's where they have to buy all their AEW pay-per-view. Is Revolution showing up already? She's saying it's not. I never even thought it was a pay-per-view until you mentioned it right now. I just naturally in my brain, I was like, oh, Grand Slam, that's a TV thing. The thing they put on TV. Because that's what it's been. But
Well, if it's just a TV thing, fine. I don't have to pay for it. But
Well,
as
guess
is,
we'll
I'm not
see.
watching it at 2:30 in the morning.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I'll watch it later on that day. But all right. Well, we'll have to see. That's a good point by you. That's a good point by you. So we'll have to see. But one thing that we have to do, Drew, is it's our time to get the heck out of here.
Yes.
So why don't you let the people know where they can find you, and then we will do our thing and get out of here.
You can find me freezing my ass off in Brooklyn, New York, because it's cold and my building is not throwing heat like it should be. So I'm a little pissed off about that. You can find me at the Drew Nicholas on Twitter, Drew Nicholas on Blue Sky, collecting the super chats and humper chats for Fightful's AEW Collision post show every Saturday night with Rick Creston, Iridian, and Roundtable Pro Wrestling podcast with the Thorn in My Side, Sunday Sinner in the chat earlier today, and other lovely people. And follow Firmly LW on Twitter. That's our Firmly Love Wrestling, Firmly AEW WWE Twitter account. And yeah, there you go.
Hell yeah. You can find me, JPJ Loves Gaming, all social media platforms, including Twitch and including YouTube. You can find me on those as well. You can find me here, like Drew just said, every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. for Firmly Love Wrestling. Real fun coming in here on the afternoons and chatting with the good chat and stuff like that. You can also find me here every Thursday night, 8 p.m., the flagship show here on Love Wrestling, Between Two Beards. We have Wrestle Rant. We got our buddy Graham Matthews joining us once again tonight. We're going to be talking Raw on Netflix debut. We're going to be talking AEW. We're going to be talking all the good stuff tonight. So we're going to be talking that with him. Very excited to get him back on. Obviously, Love Wrestling. We have the brunch gimmick every Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern time, where Lawrence, Spencer, Zach, and some mixture of the crew gets together and they talk the week in wrestling every Wednesday night. Big Bad Boris and Ophelia's been joining him pretty much every week, so I'm going to put her over as well. So I'll say Big Bad Boris and Ophelia do the watch along for AEW Dynamite. Pluggo joined yesterday, but Ophelia's been there I feel like every week for
she has
a few months now. So Big Bad Boris and Ophelia do the AEW Dynamite watch along Wednesday nights here on the channel. So we got a lot of good stuff. We have more interviews. Pluggo and I are taking over the Rumble here at the beginning of February. We're going to be getting a lot of interviews, a lot of cool content down there. We got some new shows in the works that we'll be releasing or coming up with announcements over the next couple months and things. Not me personally. I do a lot, but we have some new cool ideas and cool shows. So 2025 is going to be a bigger and better year for Love Wrestling here. We're just getting bigger and better than ever. So give us a follow. Drew and I will see you next Tuesday. I'll see you guys later on tonight, 8 p.m. in about a little under 8 hours from now. I'm going to have to be carrying the ship tonight, Drew, because I know you're not a big football guy, but college football, the playoffs are tonight, and Pluggo, he's obsessed with Notre Dame football. He born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. That's his team. Of all the teams that he roots for, that is the team that he really cares about the most. And they are in the semifinal tonight, and that game kicks off, you guessed it, at 8 p.m. tonight.
At 8 p.m.
They couldn't have planned it better, the NCAA. You couldn't have planned it better. So that game kicks off tonight. So, and Pluggo's a professional. He'll be there. But he's going to be doing the side eye the whole time. He's going to be like, So hopefully the game goes well, because we could see a roller coaster of emotions on Pluggo tonight. We could see a roller coaster of emotions. But it should be a fun one tonight. So tune in tonight, 8 p.m. Drew and I will see.
Aren't you having a guest on that show, right?
Yeah, Wrestle Rant, Graham Matthews.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So we have him back on. I think he's been on 2 or 3 times before. Joe, I hope we win the ratings war tonight against the Notre Dame game as well. We should. We've been here. We've been established for years now. This playoff, this is the first year. Get out of here. But, hopefully we wins the ratings. Well, we'll see. But me and Drew will be back Tuesday morning, 10 a.m., Firmly WWE. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your weekend. Drew, always a pleasure. Another fun one with you today, man. Good. It's always better when we have good episodes of television to talk about. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate everyone at Love Wrestling. Drew and I will see y'all on Tuesday. Until then, y'all know the drill. Peace out.